Hello, hello, hello. Come on in. Welcome to the Nameless Blog. And this is the first Nameless Blog of the year. I'm your host, Kyle S. Berkeley, aka KB, Trap Guy with the Dad Bod. And this is great. So many people I have been asked several times by many people, hey, what's going on with Nameless Blog? What was going on was I did a few episodes and I didn't think that they were appropriate to put out just because of the subject matter. And that's why. So we're gonna just go this route, and we're gonna make it happen. If things get a little spicy, I might edit it out. I might keep it on. Who knows? Um, just because of a lot of things that are moving, and we'll get into that soon. But again, my name is Kyle S. Berkeley. Please like and subscribe my YouTube channel. Also, I'm on all forms of social media: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm not on Twitter, but I am on Threads. I am at Berkeley for Us on all forms of social media except for Facebook. You can reach me at Kyle Berkeley 83 on Facebook, or you can just type in Dr. Kyle Berkeley, and I'm the only Dr. Kyle Berkeley. There are a lot of other variants though of Kyle Berkeley. One is a musician in California, if I'm not mistaken. Another one is a coach at University of Maryland. But I am the only Dr. Kyle Berkeley for right now. That being said, again, please like and subscribe to this channel and follow me on social media. Also, my books are currently out. The Wake, the award-winning 2018 debut novel of mine, The Void, and The Legacy are currently out. Um, the Void is a 9.0 out of 10 on books with benefits. The Legacy is a 9.8 out of 10 on books with benefits. And both of those actually led to me being a finalist nominee for the Baltimore Crown for Author of the Year. The Wake, for those that are asking, is an 8.5 out of 10. So the Union will be released on May 29th. We'll get into that soon. I'll definitely debut the um the trailer so far because there's multiple different versions of the trailer, the teaser trailer coming out, and there's a final trailer that we're still doing work with. The actor V and I are planning on linking up sometime soon after the snow melts and everything. If for those that don't know, I live in Baltimore City, and we've been getting hit kind of left and right with snow. And for whatever reason, the rest of the state can shovel their snow off the streets, but Baltimore City decides to leave snow and ice everywhere. So anyway, um, as soon as we are able to convene with some recording just to get a couple more scenes for the trailer. The final trailer will be out. Uh, but that being said, I will show everybody the teaser trailer. I did get clearance from Comp to use the song from off of his album, The Man with the Hand, No Love. So big shouts out to Comp. He's going to be working with us with the Tiffany Saga series that we're actually shooting right now. We're in the development phase. We have the first three episodes of the script already penned and everything. We're in the process of going through casting and stuff like that. It's a lot of moving pieces. We have some real good funding coming up. Uh, we are taking donations. There is a GoFundMe available on GoFundMe. If you type in Tiffany Saga, you can see you can feel free to donate $5 or $10 or $20, whatever your heart's desire. If you do make a donation, we will give you a producer credit on the show. And thank you. Anybody who donates over $100 will be given a box set of the Tiffany Given saga. That's the whole complete book series of The Wake, The Void, The Legacy, The Union, and The Transition. Of course, the transition will not be out until 2025 at earliest. Just because transition is going to be a very massive book. I am currently working on that last part right now, and the more I'm building it, the more I'm realizing there's a lot in tow in this. Which, as I'm looking at it now from the streaming platform and everything, from how we're doing the Wake and the Void, by the time we get to transition for the series, transition is probably going to be two whole seasons by itself. Just being completely transparent, because it's a lot of story. The Union is a lot of story by itself. I can't wait for everybody to read it. The critiques are coming in right now, and it's undeniable. It's a phenomenal book. That being said, I do want to say, I want to introduce a new segment into this show. This new segment in the show, of course, we're still going to get into our top 10. We have a real cool top 10 for this week. But I want to introduce something to the show. In the past, I was on a podcast. I created it. It was called "Did Society Fail Them?" And in that, myself, um, my brother Mo Crosby, and my brother Anthony Wiggins, we co-hosted. You can find it on YouTube. You can also find it on iTunes and everywhere else you get your podcast from. You can find episodes that we've done on Did Society Fail Them? And we're probably going to bring it back eventually, or we might just do it in this platform. We're just going to figure out how to do filming of it and then do it here, or we might just put it back on the ECC network, E2CC network. Not sure. Still up in the air. Year still early, and just as many things as I have going on, and they have going on. It just breaks down to timing. But I wanted to introduce a new segment to this show called Their Impact on Me as a Writer. So, um, in their impact on me as a writer, this segment, I'm going to pull a little bit from This Society Film. And the reason why I'm doing this segment is I always look at characters and like from different genres, from literature, from TV shows, movies, games, everything. And I feel like they have an impact in how you view and how you create. Like I look at Hamilton, the play, and that had an impact. And that's going to be next week's. I'll get into how Hamilton. You know what? Let's do it this week. The person who I had in mind, I'll save him for next week because I did discuss him, or we did discuss him on Did Society Fail Them? But I've never actually publicly talked about this before. So Hamilton I always thought was an interesting story, in the real life story of John Hamilton and the real life story of Aaron Burr. I was really introduced to the whole real story of John Hamilton and Aaron Burr back when I was in sixth grade, I want to say. And, there was like this, you know, they had all of us kids watch this movie kind of educational type thing of the founding fathers, and you learn a lot about John Hamilton and his upbringing and a lot of stuff. And how he died was always interesting, right? When I saw the play Hamilton on Disney Plus, I did not go see the play in person. When I saw the play Hamilton, which is a very geniusly written play, there was something that stood out to me, and that was how they set up Aaron Burr with John Hamilton, and you could see similarities and differences, and then you could see somewhat of this almost big brother little brother type dynamic between the two, but they're equals, and you can see where jealousy, rage, and entitlement to a degree takes apart, and you can see where trauma also takes apart, especially with John Hamilton. And the song "In the Room Where It Happens," like there's a lot to that, right? And that impacted me a lot. And I'm explain why. When I was working on the union, I did a lot. Like so, the Void came out. Well, the Void and the Legacy I started writing in 2018. 2019ish, 2018, 2019, right after I finished the wake. And I was starting to learn a lot of things that I did wrong um, in the writing aspect. And I was learning, okay, you have to figure out a direction, right? So I didn't know what genre I was writing the wake in. I had this dope idea for a story, and I wanted it to work. When I did the void, it dawned on me what the wake was. The wake was a setup for this whole series. The wake told the story of a family, which that's what it was intended to do. It told the story of how a community fell apart, which that's what it was intended to do. I didn't realize how powerful the story that I wrote and how I could have marketed it so much more different, and how I could have built that story. When I started writing The Void, which I've shared this before, when I wrote The Void and the Legacy, I wrote side by side because it was going to be one book. But then as I was gotten to the part where it turns into the Legacy, I realized, oh no, this actually has to be two books. This can't be one book. Which then it turned into, okay, let's make this into a series. Let's really just buff this out and tell a whole big story. I started studying cults because the part with Hakeem Andrews is hinted at in the wake. There's a lot about Hakeem's family, and it starts off with the hinting in the wake. Not done on purpose. It was just I wanted to make Hakeem so much of a different person that people aren't used to seeing. Like I wanted to make him a preacher, right? But not just a preacher. I wanted him to be a leader in the community and somebody who wants to fight for civil rights. But what was his why? And there's a conversation in the wake where um, Florence Sims and Donald Avery are talking in the pastor's office, and at the time, uh, Donald Avery is dying from cancer, and Florence Sims is in her stage of Alzheimer's disease, and they're having this conversation, and Florence is expressing her concern about Hakeem Andrews coming into the church and preaching and how much money it costs for him. And Donald corrects her and says, no, that's not that Hakeem Andrews. And that was the door, right? That was the tiny crack that created the Hakeem Andrews of this series. And in that tiny crack, I was able to really buff that out. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about Hakeem's family. What do we know about Hakeem's family? What can we talk about? So in a void, we introduce his brother, Jamar, his older brother. His older brother has is some family issue there, right? And we kind of go into we explain, okay, Hakeem and Jamar's parents had an arranged marriage, and the family church that they had is some weird dynamics there. And Jamar was excommunicated from the church, and he found his faith in Islam, right? And he wound up becoming an imam, and he he becomes a community leader in his own right. Maybe not seen at the same level as Hakeem, but still in his own right, and still is very passionate about the community. And I was like, let's continue to buff this out. And as a as it comes out, you learn that Hakeem and Jamar love each other. They just at wits with each other because of their upbringing and being and always having to be in competition with each other. That's not the Hamilton effect at all. I'm getting there. And Jamar has this idea of how to grow the community and keep the community and not have Bridgie Square fall into this whole community redevelopment, quote unquote gentrification thing that's going on with Titan Industries and Erica Little. And all these things happen. And then you have this whole problem with Marshawn Bell and the Narcotics and Firearms Task Force working with local gangs and causing more problems, which strengthens Erica Little's argument from the wake. And of course, after that whole story is told and resolved, I'm not trying to spoil the void because I really want you to read it because it's a very good story. And those things resolve itself. And then you get into the legacy where now there's an investigation based because of what happened with the gangs and the Narcotics and Firearms Task Force. And then you find out there's been a serial killer acting in Ridgely Square and throughout Baltimore this whole time, calling himself the action figure killer. And while this is going on, you learn more about family dynamics between Jamar and Hakeem. And that led to a door opening because of things that happened with Hakeem's church that he's now, because he took over Donald Avery's church after Donald Avery died. And things happened because of the legacy where Hakeem now finds himself at his family's church again. Well, yeah, again. And now you could open up and learn about all the family dynamics of Hakeem and Jamar's family, along with their sister, Keisha. And from there, that's when you get to play with with the Aaron Burr story, like the whole idea of Aaron Burr. It's, hey, look, we're equals, but you're always viewed better than me. We're equals, but you always have a leg up on me. I'm the vice president, but I could have been president because you stopped me. So even though I have a higher place than you, you're still better than me, right? And I'm never going to be in the room where things happen because of you. Even though I have this position, because of you, I feel down here. And that's the character of Hakeem, Jamar, and Keisha's first cousin, Raymond Nesmith. And like I said, I spent about 2 years researching cults, like to the T. You name a book about cults, real life cults. I was reading it. You name a documentary about cults, I was watching it. You name a podcast about cults, I was listening to it. Like I tell you, I study cults in and out. I study cults in and out, and it shows with the book, The Union, which will be out on May 29th. And you'll see the I'll show the trailer very shortly. But anywho, while this is all going on, I really wanted to highlight this whole jealousy, but I love you type theme with Raymond Nesmith, who is who's a who is an antagonist in this story. Like there's a this story is complex because it really shows the impact of family dynamics. It shows the impact of cults. It shows the impacts of religiosity. Religion is not a bad thing. I just want to really put out there. I grew up in the church, born and raised in church. My dad was a deacon. My mom was a missionary and evangelist. I have tons of pastors and stuff like that in my family. This isn't that kind of story where it's bashing. This is more of a story of what are the dangers when things aren't set correctly in place and things aren't checked. And of course, there's that old adage, excuse me, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this story really shows that. And there's other dynamics that's going on because you find out, hey, look, you have these issues going on politically, especially with a water crisis going on in the city because of outdated plumbing and stuff like that with lead and asbestos. And then you find out there's another serial killer calls himself the Charm City Strangler that's doing some horrible things. But while he's doing horrible things, people on the fence of, is he really bad or good? And the reason why is because some people have mixed feelings about his targeted audience. So you have this whole idea of deserving murders versus, no, this is horrible, which all of it's horrible because he's killing kids. But who he has been targeting has a mixed reaction in the community. So you have those aspects. But again, getting back to the whole Aaron Burr of it all without spoiling the book at all, it's interesting how you can tell this very long, complex story of the Union, and you could kind of look at Aaron Burr and go, the Aaron Burr from Hamilton, I should say, not historic Aaron Burr, but the Aaron Burr portrayal from Hamilton, and go, hey, let's build from here and keep building. And let's add in the religiosity piece and the part of cults into it. And now you have this very dangerous person, not physically imposing, no, psychologically imposing, because he can use his role in leadership, pastoral leadership, to his advantage. He can use his role of his clergy staff to his advantage, even somewhat of his political role, because there's a lot of different things that's going to happen in the community that's going to make Andrew's Memorial, which is Hakeem's family's church, a very big staple into the problem that's going on into the community. And it turns Andrew's Memorial into a refuge. And it gets pretty dangerous when you turn Andrew's Memorial into a refuge, when you find out Andrew's Memorial is a cult, and a very dangerous cult at that. And you don't realize how dangerous it is until you really start to dive into what are they about. And that's why I would say Hamilton, the portrayal of Aaron Burr and how that was written, that had a real positive impact in building the antagonist, one of the antagonists of this story, which is Raymond Nesmith. And with that being said, I do want to share. The trailer for this. So give me a second. I'm going to pull this up so everybody can see the teaser trailer of the Union so far. Give me a second. I'm just trying to get things right for everybody. And I'm going to hit the share screen button, which is somewhere over here. I feel like every time I get on here, share screen just moves to a new area. So here we go.
Oh yeah, the Ridgely Square community has a Earlier this year, my kids and I had a beautiful destination wedding in Jamaica with my husband, Hakeem Andrews. But when we got back to Baltimore, I learned that his family's church is a cult. And Baltimore now has a water crisis thanks to the old pipes that were found with large amounts of lead and asbestos. Oh yeah, the Ridgely Square community has a new serial killer that's called the Charm City Strangler. He killed teenage boys who be on a dirt bike or squeegee working and leaving their bodies in Leakin Park. Yeah, that Leakin Park. Man, it's only 14 while her pants boom, 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 leaves in all the milk. It was falling, fell the stuff between. Bang, 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 body lick the slow, lick the show. Grand, white stiff, same time, you got a medal, don't boy, the kid is open special. Oh my. This cold world, and I see it's me, but it's too young for somebody still trying to bring us out. So ain't got no love. Ain't got no love. Ain't got no love.
So that's the teaser trailer for the Union, coming out on May 29th. Again, very, very excited about being able to release this awesome story. Very excited about everybody to read this awesome story. In the meantime, please get a copy of The Void. Please get a copy of The Legacy. Get all caught up. Check out The Wake. I would definitely encourage you, read The Void in The Legacy first before you read The Union, just because The Union is, even though it's like the beginning of everything, I handle it like a prequel. And the way how the void is done, you don't have to read the wake to know what's going on in the void and the legacy. But it is a great companion because it does explain a lot of things that's going on character wise, but it's written completely different. I would say this: the Wake is 7 chapters. Each chapter is its own story, and each story they all kind of blend together, and you find out that you learn about Tiffany through the telling of these 7 different stories, and you learn about different things about the community. You learn about different things about certain characters, let's say AFK, the action figure killer from the Legacy, you'll learn a little bit about him because the Wake serves as a prequel. Also, the Wake is written in third person as opposed to this whole Tiffany Given saga, the Void, the Legacy, and now the Union is all written from first person. So the whole world in this series is written from out of Tiffany's eyes and how Tiffany perceives the world. And what's also super interesting about Tiffany, it isn't it, it's discussed heavily in a way. Tiffany has had a lot of trauma, because of her father who sexually assaulted and molested her a lot of times as a child, um, and it sets up who Tiffany is. Not a victim. Tiffany's not a victim. And this series goes on to show really Tiffany's not a victim at all. Tiffany's actually an overcomer, but Tiffany does have trauma. And that part of that trauma is Tiffany does see and hear things that other people don't see and hear. Tiffany is in a state of psychosis. And from the from the void, you see where it's somewhat contained. And then you get to a legacy and you kind of see that bubble breaking and kind of falling apart. And then in a union, you see how even though Tiffany's very successful in a lot of different things, such as owning a bank and um, owning a market, a fresh food market in Baltimore City, and owning a restaurant that sells food, good food or whatever like that. That's attached to her market. Tiffany psychologically is breaking apart. And part of it is because in Tiffany's mind, because remember, this is written from Tiffany's worldview. Tiffany thinks that nobody else knows that she's going through this, and she's like legit breaking down as the story continues to grow. But you see how she's overcome, and you see how Tiffany is not backing down. She's not cowering to any of these people that's trying to do and bring her down. Like in the legacy, there are people that want to bring down her company and her bank and stuff like that, and flood illegal drug money and stuff like that inside of her bank, and want to wash their money inside of her bank. And you learn that there's secret societies that are involved in the city, and it's a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces, and you see where Tiffany is not a victim in any of that. Like that part of Tiffany has been gone a long time ago. Tiffany more so is more cerebral, but even in her even in her ability to process and handle things, there are voices and everything that's going on in her head that have good impacts on her, bad impacts on her, and there's some instability with her, which makes Tiffany such an interesting protagonist. So definitely want to share that. Again, the Union comes out on May 29th. In the meantime, it's January 20th, 2024. Please, by all means, go out there right now and get yourself a copy of The Void and the Legacy. Get caught up before the Union comes out. Now, here we go with our top 10. Everybody's favorite thing that I do. So, this week's top 10 is really cool. So, this week's top 10 is based off of adult cartoons. So my top 10 favorite adult cartoons. So as always, I start off with my honorable mentions of adult cartoons. And by adult cartoons, I'm not talking porn, weirdos. No, you go to OnlyFans and watch adult cartoons, I guess. Are they on there? Does anybody actually pay for OnlyFans? I don't know. But um, but here's my top four honorable mentions. Number one would be Coach. Check that show out on Netflix. My big brother Lamont and I, we have a running joke. We have a huge running joke from Coach, and I'm not going to what it is on air, but yeah, Coach is definitely number one on that top on my honorable mention list. Paradise PD is number two. I really wanted to put Paradise PD at either the number 9 or number 10 spot on the actual ranking, but I couldn't just because even though I think Paradise PD is a real great adult cartoon, mind you, these are all comedies that I'm talking about. I'm not just talking in general with anime and stuff like that. I'm just talking comedies. But Paradise PD could have actually made the actual list, but I think they get too caught up with the hillbilly stuff where they want to do the gross factor, and that kind of stuff isn't funny to me. Like the comedy piece, comedy is comedy. Gross comedy is weird. Like I don't like it's just not funny for me. Just like fart jokes. It's like it's slapstick. It's not really funny. Number three on my honorable mention list is The Simpsons. I know it's a super long running show and it's probably the granddaddy of them all. I lost interest in The Simpsons a long time ago, like in the 90s, and they just never won me back. Like, yeah, it's funny, I guess. Like, I think the last time I actually cared anywhere remotely close to The Simpsons was when the Simpson movie came out, and even then, I wasn't caring about the show before the movie came out. And that's not me knocking The Simpsons. I think you could oversaturate your audience with something without coming out with something different or better. And it kind of just will make things go dull, for me. I'm not trying to rag or knock the show at all. That's not my goal. Because I think Simpsons is great, but it's just I kind of outgrew it. King of the Hill is number four. I thought it was a pretty cool show for what it was. And yeah, it just didn't make my top 10 list. I think part of it is because it got too dramatic, too drama for me, which is going to kind of sound hypocritical when you hear my number 10 on my top 10 list. And my number 10, because I don't have my number five, I'm just not going to say out loud just because it's going to be controversial. And I will tell everybody Beavis and Butthead isn't on the list for me because that was never my joint. Like, I just never liked it. Um, you know what? Number five, Ren and Stimpy. I liked it. Happy Jojo was funny. Ren and Stimpy was hilarious for the time it was. Honorable mention. So honorable mentions: number one, Coach, which is on Netflix. Number two, Paradise PD, which is on Netflix. Number three, The Simpsons, which is on Disney Plus right now and on Fox. Number four, King of the Hill. I don't know where you can stream that at. I don't know. And number five, Ren and Stimpy. Again, I don't know where you can stream that at. And now we get to the top 10 adult comedy cartoons. Number 10 is Bojack Horseman. Bojack Horseman actually could have been rated higher, but something weird happened with that show towards the last two seasons where they really wanted to make it into a real serious drama, and the comedy piece kind of got lost in it. And that's why I kind of dropped it where I dropped it at. Number nine is Big Mouth. That show is hilarious. Again, it's on Netflix. Um, I didn't put Sex Ed on there, which is weird, but Sex Ed could either be an honorable mention or Big Mouth adjacent. I am not going to rework the list. I've done that a few times. Not doing it. Um, so number nine is Big Mouth. Number eight is The Cleveland Show. I think that was an underrated comedy. If you go back and watch it, you realize Seth MacFarlane was really cooking on that. It's really funny, and give it a shot. Like if you like Family Guy and you like American Dad, you would like Cleveland Show. Cleveland Show was good. Number seven, F is for Family. That show's really funny. It's really, really, really good. Check it out if you haven't seen it. They have a star-studded cast. Um, Netflix did not. I really want to give Netflix credit for not skimping on the budget to bring in certain actors to play certain roles on that show. Bill Burr did a phenomenal job with his writing and his acting on the show as well. Number six, I think we all can agree, Futurama. I couldn't put it higher or lower. I think number six is the right spot to put Futurama at. Great show. Number five. So heads up, we're getting into the top five, right? So save your feelings because any of these shows could be interchangeable except for my number one. So number five is American Dad. It's a great comedy. Roger's hilarious. Klaus is funny. Stan is funny. Francine is funny. It's Steve. It's great music on there. It's a great show. Um, Four is Archer. Again, anywhere, any of these could have moved anywhere. But four is Archer. Three is Family Guy. And I legit forgot exactly how funny that show used to be until I went back and saw some of the older episodes. I was like, oh my gosh, this show was amazing. And then, it's still great, still funny, but you forget how really funny that show used to be. Number two is South Park. That goes without saying. The writing has never missed. There's never been an episode that was like, oh, this is garbage. Those guys over there just know what they're doing and they do a phenomenal job. And number one above all is Boondocks. So hit me up. Let me know if you agree or disagree. My top 10 list, I'll go through it again for everybody. Number one, Boondocks. Number two, South Park. Number three, Family Guy. Number four, Archer. Number five, American Dad. Number six, Futurama. Number seven, F is for Family. Number eight, Cleveland Show. Number nine, Big Mouth. Number 10, BoJack Horseman. Honorable mentions, Coach, Paradise PD, The Simpsons, King of the Hill. There you go. And my name is Kyle Berkeley. Hit me up on social media at Berkeley for Us. Please like and subscribe. Please get yourself a copy of The Wake, The Void, and The Legacy out now. The Union will be out soon. I'm going to play us out with the trailer. Okay? One last time. Let's do it. And again, love you guys. Enjoy your week. Be safe out there.
Earlier this year, my kids and I had a beautiful destination wedding in Jamaica with my husband, Hakeem Andrews. But when we got back to Baltimore, I learned that his family's church is a cult. And Baltimore now has a water crisis thanks to the old pipes that were found with large amounts of lead and asbestos. Oh, yeah, the Ridgely Square community has a new serial killer that's called the Charm City Strangler. He killed teenage boys who be on their dirt bike or squeegee working and leaving their bodies in Leakin Park. Yeah, that Leakin Park. Man, man, he's only 14 while I pass, Go, 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 do you live for him? Never do his father, and he felt his number to me. Oh, bang, 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 body lick the stone, lick the show. Grand dang, bang, body stiffing, same time, you got him never, Don't boy, the kid is only special. Oh, this cold world in my city, it's me, but it's too young, and somebody's still trying to bring us on. So ain't got no love, ain't got no love, ain't got no love.